Welcome to Standing Pines RV Resort and Campground. Hi and welcome. I'm thrilled to have everybody back for the weekly show of Building Memories for Standing Pines Resort. Today we have another special guest, Marissa with the Carolina Camping Club. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. I've been so excited to do this. We've talked so many times over the last couple months, and I feel like I've gotten to know you so well, and now everyone else gets to know you in the club, and it's pretty cool. I feel like a little bit of a celebrity this morning.
It's fun and exciting times, right?
It is. It is.
So this is very exciting because we've been working on a project together now for what feels like a long time. And in some ways, although we've shared it with the club a few different ways, in some ways this feels like the first time we really get to talk about what it really is. And I'm excited about that.
The vision is coming together, both what, the club that I've launched is really launching. Your campground is really starting to become something tangible and visible, and all of that is marrying together in a really exciting event coming up. And I can't wait to do it live, you know what I mean? Put everybody together in the same place and make some awesome memories.
I think it's going to be something incredible. And before we launch into that, I've got just a couple housekeeping points for those who are following along from the campground side. First, we will do a little mini construction update towards the end of the show, so please hang with us. And second, because of some scheduling things, primarily I'm going on vacation, we're actually pre-recording today. So this is a pre-recorded show. I do plan to follow along when it goes live and answer questions real time, but did want to just highlight that if you sense just a slight different vibe to the tone. All right, with that, you ready just to jump into it?
Let's do it.
Cool. So today is really exciting because this is the first time we can talk publicly about some partnership opportunities. It occurred probably in an early conversation the two of us had, that even during construction, we might have something to offer campers who'd be interested in seeing a behind the scenes that usually you don't get a chance to see at all when someone's building a new campground. So we've been working on some possibilities for a while and have a pretty cool one to talk about. And it occurred to me as we were kind of pulling all this together, this doesn't have to be a one and done. We still have several months in our construction calendar. If there are other groups that are interested in making a long-term partnership with Standing Pines Resort, we could do these kind of private preview events with other groups that have a good alignment with kind of our goals and what we want to do for campers in this region. So I really appreciate Marissa and the Carolina Camping Club for their early support and buy-in to kind of this vision, and excited to do the first event with them, and just really open to kind of the same kind of a concept with others if it makes sense on both ends.
Hey, that's me.
That's you. You talk just a little bit about your role as CCO of CCC and kind of what you've been doing with it.
A huge fan of my recently acquired title. One of the friends that I've made through the Carolina Camping Club has recently coined me the Chief Camping Officer, and I'm absolutely owning that title. It feels good. Everyone else is getting a kick out of it, and we're going CCO of CCC going forward. So the CCC was founded in May 30th of 2023, even though we acknowledge our 1-year anniversary to be June 2024. And it was born out of this desire that kept coming up in the Facebook groups that I was in, saying, I wish I had someone to camp with. I wish I had a group of camping friends. I wish that, when I went out to a campground, I had someone to sit around and talk around the fire with and just enjoy camping with. And I said, I could do that. And so I started up a Facebook group. We are now coming up on a year. It's April 2nd, I think, that we're recording this. So we're coming up that 10, 11 month mark. And we have about 3,200 members, which is pretty cool because we don't just let anybody in. It's not that it's hard to get in, but you have to answer these questions. You have to go in. And our big number one rule is you got to be kind. Always, always, always kind. And that is strictly enforced because this is all about friendship and getting people out there who now they've met on the internet, and now we're going to camp together. And we offer these events, and people are spinning off doing mini events, and really real friendships are starting. And that's what it's all been about. We started in South Carolina originally, and we have quickly grown. We have a huge representation in North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida is coming in. We have folks up in the Northeast who are joining and flying flags at this point. We have a couple people out in the Midwest. And now that we're here at this kind of coming up 1 year mark, this point where people are aware of the club, we've got our swag flag, right? This is kind of our banner, our friendship banner, or buddy banner. Someone recently coined it, that we put on our sites when we're there to say, hey, come on by. Come hang out at the campfire. Come, bring your coffee over in the morning. Bring your nighttime beverage over in the evening. I want to meet you. We ended up camping here together the same day. Who are you? Let's be friends. And this logo that we've kind of all rallied behind is starting to spread nationwide. And I can't wait to see where it travels this year, because it's grabbing a lot of attention wherever it goes. And we're hearing reviews from campsites all over and meeting new people from all over. And it's a ton of fun. We've got a lot of exciting things planned for the rest of 2024 and 25.
It's really cool as I've been following the different Facebook camping groups, in the region in the last year or so. CCC stands out for the kindness. Really appreciate what you do to monitor the group and keep keep it a very pleasant experience for everybody. I mean, there are some other great camping clubs and groups out there, but CCC is pretty special. And I love the meet up aspect. I know that from other chats, you and I are both Disney fans. And there are some things about Disney that I love, like the Disney Vacation Club. But I also love Fort Wilderness and camping at Disney World, because DVC is kind of, you do your own thing in a private little self-contained condo, but the campground is all about being social and chatting up your neighbors and, hey, we're here having a great time in nature together. What are you doing? What are you doing? You want to come over and have dinner with us? And to me, that's the very, very best part of camping.
It is. It's all about building that community, and it's so much more fun to go out and enjoy something in a group. And we're still coming out of, that post-COVID mentality and in a world where it's hard to meet people. So many folks work virtually or are retired or moved or whatever. And this is something that we can kind of all rally behind and come, kindness and camping. What more do you need?
And for those, like some members of my family who maybe are not quite as people-centric as you and I may be, the other advantage of camping is when you're ready for your own private time and be like, good night, y'all. Into the tent, into the camper.
Just walk away. That's it. You're still out in the woods or wherever it is that you're camping, like, okay, well, that's enough social. Gotta go.
Like the best of all worlds. One of the really cool things that CCC does are these meetups. And I didn't know if you wanted to talk about just maybe one or two of these past events and kind of some of the neat things that happened at them.
Yeah. So these, one of the things that I have tried to make accessible from the very beginning is that anyone can hold a meetup. Anybody who's in the club can say, I'm going to go camping at X, and I'm going to offer this as far as an event goes. So while I coordinate some very large scale ones, like our project together that we'll talk about in a little while, or this past month, actually where my background is from, we had a winter bonfire at Aiken State Park in South Carolina. And we had one of our camp musicians come out with Heartstring Acoustics, and he came and he played the fire, and we just took over the whole campground. And it was awesome. Everybody walked up to everybody all night long. There was music, there was fire, there was friendship. And that's all it needed to be. We had a club member host an oystering event last December where she said, bring your kayaks, bring your gloves. We will take you out to where the oystering is and show you how to harvest oysters. And then we went back and we did an oyster roast as a club. It was amazing. And it was so much fun. We're going to make that an annual event. And that's kind of the vibe, is like everybody camps a little bit differently, does a little bit of a different thing, and bringing all of those great ideas together under the heading of friendship, it makes for a lot of fun. I never, really know what kind of idea someone might be offering next, but this one's pretty cool.
That whole range from like a small, hey, we're going camping at Sesquicentennial next weekend, if anyone wants to drop by, to some of the big events. That's really the cool thing.
Yeah, exactly. And as we explore what, working with other campgrounds to say, hey, this is going to be a huge event. Can you handle 200 of us or 300 of us versus, hey, let's have 5 or 6 people around the fire tonight because you happen to be in the same park as us. And it's whatever your level of social is, you can find an event within the Carolina Camping Club that scratches your itch for meeting new people.
Speaking of big events, I understand there's some stuff coming for next year already in the works.
Oh, there's lots of stuff coming up for next year, and some things are announced and some things are not. Our very first one is we are going to be doing a winter bonfire. This time it'll be at Little PD State Park the first weekend of March. I'm sure hoping that we'll be doing an annual event at Standing Pines Campground. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So that'll be fun. We'll have our 3-year anniversary, and we have a couple other partnerships that are in the works right now with some other campgrounds who have shown interest in hosting and partnering with the Carolina Camping Club, but they're still under wraps.
I know nothing.
Nothing. Stay tuned.
I am really excited for our partnership for 2025, though. I think that what we're doing this year is super cool and unique and kind of a one-off opportunity, but I think it'll lead to something we can do recurring year after year after year.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is that right now we're hitting the ground running before the ground is finished. We're showing up to a dirt area and saying, okay, let us help. Let us be part of making this future camping magic. Let us be here before it's done, before it's here. And let's come back in a year and see all that has developed. And let's come back the year after that and say, hey, do you remember when this was just dirt and this was really cool? And then how it grew, and then how it grew again, and kind of making that home base space right from the ground up. And that's pretty cool.
I think it is. I think it's one of the traditions that I've read about that I think is super cool is if you revisit the same place for vacation, every year, every other year, if you find one monument in that space that's not going to change and take a picture of your kid, you'll have a really neat scrapbook progression of pictures over the years. And so I think that would be something really cool, 20, 25 years out, we come back and we see kids growing up at Standing Pines. I think that would be neat.
That would be really cool. I think we need a small pine tree to stand them next to, and that can keep growing too.
We last week's show, we rolled out Rascal Takes Responsibility, which are some of the characters and the stories for Standing Pines Resort, and talked about a mural wall that'll be up for that. So yeah, we'll have some growing pine trees and then some maybe stable images. We'll see.
Are you taller than Rascal or whatever?
Yeah, I think that could be fun. But
would.
It was really cool as you and I were talking and putting this together, just to hear how much you have planned already for 2025 and how big the club is and how rapidly it's growing. I mean, it really spoke to me to, if you find the need, it'll build out. And y'all have seen some just fantastic explosive growth.
We really have. And I think it speaks to the community atmosphere that we cultivate. And the big thing, like I said, is kindness, but also we include all kinds of campers. We're not exclusive to just RVers or travel trailers or hammocks or tents or anything like that. We're all about, how do you love camping? How can we do it together? And one of the reasons that I fell in love with your Standing Pines vision is you're like, oh yeah, of course. Now, however you camp, you can come. Like, come on, let's have a good time. And that opening, that open welcome mentality, it's not found everywhere. It's really not. And it's one of the reasons that I gravitated towards you, aside from wanting someone to talk Disney with all the time. Oops. that I was like, oh yeah, let's build a relationship. Let's be a part of this. Let's see where it goes. You can be our friendly neighborhood campground.
100%. And it's funny because, I get that different campgrounds, especially private ones, they get to set their own tone, right? I mean, that's part of the thing you get for owning your own business. But from our perspective, my husband and I, we enjoy camping. We've camped for more years than I care to admit. Uh, and the best experiences, particularly as a family, once our daughter was born, was, when we go to those campgrounds where it was very friendly, very open, felt like we could talk to people, meet new people. Uh, that was the vibe we really kind of want for Standing Pines Resort. So, we're calling it an upscale camping experience, and certainly with some of the amenities, I think it's going to be on that side. I'm certain we'll get feedback from our guests that the pricing is on the upscale side. But we also really want to be inclusive. And so, some of our tent sites were starting at 20, $25 a night during some parts of the year. So, there's that full range that's available. I think the only kind of camping that we're not going to be real supportive of for the campground is hammock camping. And that's primarily because our trees are too young. They'd fall over.
That makes a lot of sense. So everyone has to go buy the hammock stands and then put it on a tent site, and then you'll be fine. Those things are all the rage right now anyway.
Oh, let's hear it for the Polly's Island hammocks. Give a shout out to my hometown. That I thought was one of the really cool things, was just, we were independently doing our own thing, didn't know the other existed, but had very, very similar visions for camping.
And that's actually why I immediately wanted to engage with you, is because when I first became aware of you, you were community researching. You said, hey, what do you guys want? Hey, world. Hello, camping world. What do you want at a campground? And instantly I was like, somebody is asking me what I want at a campground. I'm going to yell from the rooftops, ice cream. Because my camping experience was always involved ice cream. Now, I grew up camping in the Northeast. I didn't start until later in life when I met my husband, but there was always ice cream involved. And having moved to the Southeast, it is much harder to find ice cream. So as soon as you're like, what do you want? What do you want? I said, ice cream. That's what I'm putting out there for my one request. Please put ice cream at your campground.
I should note we will have ice cream in the welcome center in the freezer section.
And now we're partnering.
100%. I don't know if you and I have talked. I shared something last week in the update that created a little bit of a stir among some of the early Standing Pines followers. We are looking at the possibility of some adult beverages on site. And one way we might do this is, those frozen slushy machines that kids love. It's not ice cream, but it's frozen, delicious, sugary goodness. So I think we're going to do a few of those in the snack bar area. And then depending on what our final decision is with the alcohol license, have some adult adders that can be poured into the frozen slushy. So there you go. Ice cream plus, if you will.
I am here to taste test. I am here to sample. I'm here to provide feedback. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the topic of adult beverage is always a controversial one. And it's something that I kind of have worked within the club too. I'll be the first one to say, yes, I do enjoy the occasional adult beverage in a responsible manner. And I will almost always have some on me for sharing while camping. Okay. That's part of the camping experience for many people. They're out in the woods and they're out at the campground. They're sitting by the fire and they'd like to enjoy something. We're not saying we're throwing ragers here, okay? It's not crazy, but that's a cool, unique offering. And I'll tell you, I know some campers that travel with slushy machines that have a kid version and an adult version. So I think your idea is genius.
Yeah, I think that at the heart of it, that's kind of what we keep coming back to. Standing Pines Resort is family friendly. That's the vision. That's the line we'll hold. There are different ways we can do that. And I'm kind of thinking through and planning for all of those. But whether it's our guests bringing in their own miniature kitchens and their miniature houses, or us providing some options in the snack bar welcome center area. Yeah, the really important thing to us is that we keep it family friendly. No kid should ever look around and say, what's going on there? while they're guesting with us. That would be totally outside of the atmosphere we want to provide.
Absolutely. There's plenty of ways to do it in a family-friendly, controlled atmosphere where everyone is having a good time. But you're catering to both mom and dad or the parents, however they look, and the child. You go out of your way to have activities for children. You might as well include the whole family, right? So sometimes that's real nice.
There is some small possibility there will be days I'll be on that wet deck as part of the big family pool in one of those little, float in the water chairs with a beverage of some sort in my hand as my daughter plays in the deep end, right? Like I could see that happening.
100%. 100%. Camping can be a vacation, and that's what a lot of folks' vacation looks like.
Yes.
Mine does.
Well, it's kind of a little bit of what we're trying to do, and what, I'm super excited the club coming to stay with us in May is build enough in here so that if you want to bring your family and your kids and just chill out, right? Like the only vehicle you want to drive for a week is your golf cart or your bicycle. We're trying to build in enough for you to do here. You could do that. Come stay with us. If you want to explore the local community, Hartsville's got an amazing number of things to go do with the family. But if you just want to come and camp and chill, there should be enough to do to keep you entertained.
Well, that's one of the things I was so over the moon to hear is that you are thinking of the entire family because you're working on a dog park. The amount of times I have been camping and wished there was a dog park where I could just let my camping pup off leash to play with their friends. So many, and very few places do have that option. So I am here. I will scope it out. I will put a shovel to the ground, whatever you need for that. I'll bring a test dog.
Or 2 or 3. Absolutely. Yeah. One of the really fun things we did, and I highlighted this in a video a few weeks ago. We've got some stormwater pipe that we were able to get. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And so we are doing a test in our backyard for our dogs. So we put the tunnels in. My husband built this thing, dirt on top of it. These dogs, they love King of the Hill. They love chase through the tunnel. They love hide and sneak up on my brother. So I think we're going to do larger versions of those in the dog park. And that is one possible project for the work weekend. Might be helping put something like that together, or one of the other dog activities in one of the 2 dog parks, because we were going with the bigger dog and the smaller dog park model. Mostly because our dogs are mid-sized dogs, but they're brothers from the same litter, and they're herders. And my dogs can clear out a dog park in like 5 minutes when they get excited.
As somebody who has 3 large dogs, they're all in that 50-pound plus range, I appreciate that. While they love to hang with a Chihuahua, and they do a fine job, if they're really going to get going, they do need a larger, more oriented to their size space where they can tackle each other without falling on somebody, that kind of thing.
Yeah, although one of my cutest memories of our dogs in a different dog park that kind of gave the inspiration for what we're doing, they had the little dog park side by side with the big one. And so one of my dogs and one of the little dogs became friends through the fence, and they were running up and down the fence line together on opposite sides. Cute as could be.
We have that happen in my backyard every single day. There's a German Shepherd on the other side of the fence, and I've got my 3 running on this side. There's a German Shepherd on the other, and it's just dirt and chaos, like a race course back there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I do think it's very likely, although we're going to try and plant some grass and have kind of moved the location of the dog park so they're partially in some trees for some shade and some play. I suspect the dog parks are going to be mostly sand, and I suspect diggers are going to love that.
I could absolutely. If you need help digging it out, I've got one. She's ready to go. She built us a beautiful trench in our backyard. We didn't ask her to, but we've got it now.
Yeah, one of ours, he's that traditional dig as much. He doesn't seem to want to dig escape tunnels. He just wants to dig tunnels.
We must have something living in there. That's all we can guess at, is because she's not trying to go anywhere. It's in the middle of the yard, but just this whole pathway to something, to nowhere.
Well, happily, we've got lots and lots of sand, so we should be happy digging. Some other things, I was looking at this, I tossed this in. This is early concept art for the campground. And it's funny how it encompasses so many of the things we've talked about. That one picture shows all the different kinds of camping that we welcome, encourage, want to see happen here on the campground. And the other, activities. And some of this has evolved. The playground is going to look quite different than the playground that's pictured here. The basketball court may only be a half court. That putt-putt course that, it's concept art, right? Sometimes concept art is a challenge, but that bottom image is actually a mini golf course. And now it's going to be themed to the Forest Friends. So there's been changes. So yeah, I'm going to hop on just a little bit of other concept art here, because I know that you and I both have a little bit of other things going on today. But just for Standing Pines, I was so amazed by the community that's growing. And we're smaller than the club still by a fair good bit, but saw some pretty rapid growth in about 10 days, went from about 900 on Facebook to almost 1,400 as a challenge to unlock some dates. So we are accepting reservations now. The soft open is October 15th. The grand opening is December 1. That means everything's really ready on December 1. We'll have the amenities and whatnot as we're planning. Soft open will be done enough to have our first guest. And we're looking for some feedback from those early guests of, how'd we do? We know we're not completely ready, but you're also getting a chance to help shape the final vision of the resort with the early open. So those are kind of some key dates coming up. And this is the concept map. Again, some locations of some things are going to change. This one shows an early version of the dog park just as a single instead of a double, and it'll wind up moving a little bit. But the vision, I think, is going to wind up being fairly close by the time that we open. Of course, we're not quite there today. Those who've been following along in the construction know that. You referenced lots of road
names.
You got roads. Yeah, this is super exciting. My husband did this drone picture the other day, and for the first time, you can really start to see the shape of it against kind of this concept map. But yeah, our road names, which were super fun to name, and I'll do a different episode on that in the future. But it kind of gives you a sense now of the full scale of just how big that pond's going to be once we get it done and start holding water. Some of the fun road names. And the ones that have names on them, those are going to be the real roads. The other roads that you see going here, there, and wherever, those are just construction roads. Those will go away as we build out. The other thing that's exciting to see is the Welcome Center. You can see the frame is up. And then the pool will be behind that, and the 3 lanes for RV staging. So when we do our event with the club in May, folks will enter in from Bethlehem Road, which is up there at the construction entrance by the Welcome Center. And then we'll probably have some folks to meet up front and then escort folks back to the other part of the park where we'll be. But it's exciting to see it start to take shape. And I wanted to share this as a realistic preview. I mean, this is basically 6 weeks from when we'll have our event. This is what folks who are going to come and camp with us with the club for the first time are going to see. Lots of trees, lots of dirt.
It looks awesome. And I'm glad that you're explaining this photo too, because the Welcome Center offers some scale, just how big this project is. There's a truck, I think, sitting out front of that, and it looks so tiny, and you don't really realize just how ginormous this space is until you kind of get that scale piece, that fact that that's an entire building right there. So because the roads are wide, it looks smaller than, but you compare that building to the pond. That is a pond. That's a small lake. There's so much fun that is going to happen here over the course of the next year.
I think you're right. It is a small lake. I've been trying to convince my husband we should call it a lake. He's like, no, it's a pond. Okay.
Awfully lakey to me.
Particularly once we get it to hold water, and that's a whole separate technical challenge, and stock it with fish. And then in the future, when we've got the rental boats there, I do think that's going to be super cool. But you're 100% right. So that welcome center that looks like a teeny tiny little Lego house is probably closer to 3,000 square feet. And the little vehicle you can almost see in front of it is a large construction vehicle.
Yeah, that's where the scale of this really comes into play, because your previous slide is like, wow, there was a lot of stuff. This is like, oh, well, is it actually that big? Yeah, you guys, this is massive. This is a huge project. You're gonna get your steps in exploring the whole place for sure.
You are. This particular shot only shows about half of phase one. So it doesn't even include the other half of phase one, much less the future phase two area where we'll be dry camping for this weekend, or the 50 plus additional acres that we're leaving wooded for exploration.
That's going to be really neat. I look forward to hearing more about that exploration forest aspect. So cool.
Ooh. So what exactly is dry camping?
So dry camping, this is something that I grew up with. When I lived in the Northeast, our state parks were a flat space of dirt or downed pine or whatever that you could put a camper or a tent or whatever on. And that was the end of the story. There weren't electric hookups. There weren't water run to the sites. And that in South Carolina is pretty standard. Almost every site has electric or water run to it. And then some even have sewer. And those are called full hookup sites. Now, dry camping doesn't have anything to do with beverage consumption. It has to do with the fact that there are no hookups. You're camping. You can bring your camper, you can bring your trailer, you can bring your tent, you can bring your converted school bus, whatever you've got that you're camping, but we won't be able to hook you up to any electric or water. You can bring your black water tanks, your gray water tanks, you can use your batteries. You are camping in a much more, some might say traditional sense, where it's not luxury camping. It's camping. You're living outside for the weekend. And I'm looking forward to it because it's not a style of camping I have done in the last, 2 years maybe, but just because there's been electricity, I've plugged in. Are there batteries hooked up to everything I have? Do I have all the things to dry camp? Absolutely. I'm looking forward to a reason to use them. It does mean that from a bathroom standpoint, we won't have a bathhouse available for this one, and we will be using porta potties. Campers who are self-contained, do your own thing. You've got your own thing. You've got your portable setup, your mobile home. For our tent friends, for those of us who have travel trailers where we don't hook up water or whatever, we will have facilities for your bathroom needs. But that's it. It's dry camping. We're going out. It's a bit rustic. It's a little bit backcountry. It's camping on the dirt as a community. It's going to be an adventure, and it'll be a lot of fun. We have some pretty cool events planned for that weekend as well. Big things to know are just bring your batteries, pack your water, think about the things as if you were going to go out to a place that you didn't know where you were going to land. Be prepared. It's kind of that Scouts motto. Boondocking is a term that you may have heard before, and boondocking and dry camping are very, very similar. Dry camping happens on campground land. So it could be at a state park. It could be here at Standing Pines Resort as it's still emerging with all the amenities. Boondocking happens on non-designated campground land. So that's the difference. So that's why we are referring to this as a dry camping event, because it is designated for camping. It is approved. It is allowed. It is encouraged. But we're not stocked with amenities this year.
Which is part of the reason why this is a free event for the club.
Exactly, which is even cooler. How often do you get to camp for free with a huge group of people and designated activities throughout the day? And we're saying, hey, you want to do some painting? You want to do some projects along the way? Get your photo taken by the professional photographer we'll have walking around. It's all about kind of building that camping community with people. And we have some really handy folks in the club. So I'm looking forward to what projects we might tackle. And I know you're going to talk more about that.
That is such a perfect lead in. Thank you. So this is something we've kind of been working on behind the scenes. We're hoping to have somewhere between 35, 45 families. There's a max of 50 on it here for this weekend, up to 3 nights. And so we want to have enough structure that people are not like, well, what do we do now? And enough freedom and flexibility to really go out and explore and enjoy some of the stuff. So this is still very much kind of in draft form. It is subject to change. But the thought is, okay, for that Saturday, May 18th, we'll have 3 different tracks, and you can mix and match and pop back and forth. But one track is really kid friendly. I think at last count, we've, significant number of kids who will be attending, which I think will be fun. So we'll have some kid friendly activities, building some bat houses because we want to attract bats to help control the insect population, painting some trail signs. I know that I'm a kid at heart. That sounds fun to me. Helping us plant some seeds, going out and just shaking the wildflower seeds for future pollinator habitats, games, all that kind of stuff. We've got activities planned and some responsible adult type people to monitor some of these kid activities. We've got a second track, for those who really would get a kick out of helping build part of the campground and see your work over the years and be like, I did that. That's mine. These 2 hands help build that. And so, one possibility is assembling some picnic tables. We plan to have the parts and pieces and instructions, but just, putting together over 100 picnic tables, that's something that's going to take a lot of time with a small number of people. But if we have a lot of people doing it, we could get those knocked out fairly quickly. Another possibility is building the Gaga Ball Pit. And I actually think we want to flip that and make that the morning activity if we get some interest in it, with the thought that we build it that morning. And then all weekend, we've got this Gaga Ball Pit, which we'll talk about a little bit more with the future slide, for the kids to play in and wear themselves out. Because that's always my goal with kids, is I want them to sleep well, right?
That gets my vote all day. I think that just became priority 1. So Gaga Ball is a fairly new term to me. In fact, I only learned what it meant last week. Can you talk about what that is really quick?
We'll switch ahead and come back. So this is something that was fairly new to me. I learned about it in one of the National Campground Conferences. It's an octagon, basically, short walls, somewhere around 3 feet high. And you step in, you can play. It's like pickup. You can play with any number of players. It's a gentle version of dodgeball. So you get a ball, pretty much any ball will work. Beach balls preferable, in my opinion, because, they don't hurt. And it only counts if you get someone below the knees. And the goal is to tag others with the ball. Last person in the pit wins. So we've seen these in other places we've gone after I was introduced to them at the conference. And the cool thing about them is that, like basketball, you kind of need to know people to have teams. Volleyball, you need to know people to have teams. This Gaga thing, you don't need to know anybody. You just need to be willing to step in and play. And the other thing I like is that, I don't necessarily have the best memories of dodgeball in school PE. Like, we played pretty rough when I was a kid. So I like that this is a kinder, gentler version.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually probably have some ball recommendations for you. Having worked in a school and played with many types of students, and knowing what hurts and what doesn't. There are some well-designed balls these days to make the dodgeball concept a lot more enjoyable for everybody.
Yeah, I think if I could get, a link to Amazon, we might have one of the gentler balls for playing for this. But
I think that's a great idea.
Let's do that. But concept 100%, like we can have everything prepped, ready to go. If club members are here, they help us build this. And then we've got this for the kids to play with all weekend. And then it'll be one of the amenities that'll be at the resort basically forever. So that's a cool concept. The other thing, I'm going to swap back to the plan for just a second. Track 3, the green track experiences. You referenced this when I first reached out and was like, what do y'all want in a campground? We're still kind of fine tuning some things. The pump track, you'll be able to walk over and see the mounds of dirt and what we're thinking about for it, but getting some feedback on, like, in my head, I think that's something that kids, adolescents, maybe young adults would enjoy, but maybe there's a wider audience that I'm not thinking about. a potential layout for our mini golf and tweaking that and seeing if there's anyone who can come up with some, neat surprises we can include. Really giving some feedback on the planned menu for the snack bar. Some of the best parts of that now have come from people just asking, well, what would you want? If you're camping and there's, dining on site, what would you want? So we'll have some focus groups that morning for people who might be more comfortable giving feedback than digging or pounding hammers. And then that afternoon, there are a couple of neat things. Neptune Island Water Park, which is a regional water park 15 minutes away in Hartsville. That's opening weekend. So that'll be available if anyone wants to go and check that out. And then just 5 minutes from us, Deer Creek Horse and Dog Rescue. They're a really neat organization. They rescue horses, they rescue dogs. And one of the ways they raise funds to do this is trail rides. I think it's like, I'll have to go look and check again, but I think it's $30, $40 for a 30-minute trail ride. And so you can jump online and I'll share the link for that. And again, that's a 5-minute drive from us. Go and feel good about contributing to rescuing animals while enjoying a very traditional horse ride through the woods. Like we're talking about traditional camping. I can't think of much more traditional camping than a horseback riding.
I couldn't agree more. That's a really neat opportunity. We will definitely have to check that out.
I think so. And then talking together as you and I were working and planning this, evidently something the club has been asking for a while is a planned community meal.
That is 100% a fact, is that if there's one resounding thing that I haven't delivered yet, it is figuring out that potluck kind of community meal aspect. And he said, well, why don't we help out? Standing Pines, we'll provide kind of like the burgers and hot dogs, meat side of things, and everybody else just supplements the rest. And I said, sold. So you're going to help me kind of break that barrier of filling the club need for a potluck style event. And we're going to make it all come together for a beautiful celebratory community Standing Pines Carolina campground bread breaking together. It'll be awesome.
I'm really looking forward to that meal. I think it's going to be one of the highlights of the whole weekend. It's just hanging out with everybody. And I think doing things like projects together and exploring together that day is going to make that meal even more meaningful with new friends.
Agree completely. It's so much fun to just, eat and chat.
Eat and chat. So I think we've both been seeing this from the beginning as a win-win, free camping, planned events, some togetherness, some plenty of time. There's plenty of space to spread out. I mean, we've got almost 90 acres here. There's going to be, if you need a spot, you can find a spot.
If you're tired of us, you can walk away. There's plenty of place to go walk.
I mean, the pond by itself is over 3 acres. So, but lots there. And, our ask really is social media sharing. We do plan to have some photography, maybe some videos going on. Heads up, if you're coming, it's kind of you're giving your consent to us using those pictures and images for some marketing. Potential help with projects if you like it, if you feel like it, if you want to put that like stamp of ownership. And then, sharing local favorites and finds. I'll say again, Hartsville is one of the coolest small towns I've ever seen. And I think there's a lot here to discover. So, I'm really jazzed about this. I think it's going to be a fabulous weekend, and I can't wait to meet everybody in person. In just 6 weeks now?
Yeah, it's about 6 weeks. We're here in the first week of April, and we're coming out the middle of May. So it's coming up really fast, honestly. I know that we both personally have a couple trips ourselves in between, but I'm sitting here, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. Why isn't it this weekend? Let's go. Let's get everybody together and do some fun things, build community. I think there's a lot of excitement here, even just between the two of us. And I hope that everyone else feels it and wants to be a part of it, because it is the beginning of, the beginning of a beautiful friendship, right? You want a place to keep coming back to every year? Let's build it. Let's build it all together. And we are the first people to come here to build this. This is really where it all starts. So come be a part of it. We're going to keep registration for this event open until, are we saying the middle of April? So we've got like about 2 more weeks to sign up. Is that what we're thinking right now?
Yep, April 15th. And the only reason to put a date on it is so that we can plan appropriately and make sure we've got everything for folks. to some extent, I think it'd be better for this to be a great event for a smaller number of families than we didn't really do a good job planning that. So that's kind of the reason to put a date on it, just so that we know what to plan for.
Exactly. And this is going to be rain or shine. If we have to pull out some tarps, I think most of us own them in some capacity. I know I have a few. If it looks like it's going to rain, I'll be bringing a couple. We'll figure it out if that's in the weather forecast, though, of course, we're going to keep our fingers crossed that it's not a problem at all. You mentioned possibly being able to use some of the welcome center that weekend, like having a ground floor, but a covered space. Is that right?
So that is a strong possibility. Depends on where we are in construction at that point. There's also a pretty good possibility that we'll have a large, I want to say it's 10 by 30 tent. So we can have that for kind of the community meals. And once we assemble some picnic tables, we'll have a community place to eat, and a few other possibilities for some covered spaces for this event that we can then use for the campground going forward. So
I really appreciate the mentality of, if you want a table to sit at, you're going to have to build it. Talk about an incentive program.
Your own reward is waiting.
That's a motivator right there. I love it.
When we soft open for paying guests, you won't have to assemble your own table.
She says now, it depends on how many we build. Okay, don't hold her to that. That's not legally binding. If she doesn't have enough picnic tables, she'll like, build it yourself.
Oh, that's fun. Hey, I threw up some other screenshots on here just because there have been some questions from club members since we announced this event. One, I think, point of confusion is because it's an event on a Facebook page, you can go and click, yes, I'm going. And for a lot of things, that's all you need to do, right? You're good. You're signed up. Because of what this is, and my desire to have some basic information like emergency contacts and how many people are coming, we need a little bit more. So unique to the CCC page, you'll only kind of find it there, is the link to click to register. And so if you do want to be part of this, you got to click it. You got to fill out the registration fully before the 15th. And then you'll know that you're registered because you'll get an email either from amy@campstandingpines.com or info@campstandingpines.com. And you may want to check the spam folder because in at least one occasion that went to spam, but it'll have your details specific to what you put in. And that's a last chance to verify, or if something changes, just, let me know so we can adjust for you. Some people have asked for like electric hookups. And again, I wish that we were ready enough to do them, but this is going to be a dry camping weekend. Generators are fine. If there's any issues at all around generators and noise, we've got plenty of room to spread out. Should not be an issue whatsoever. So I did just kind of want to touch on that for a second. Marissa, you've been watching this in the club as much as I have. Are there other questions that you've seen come up that you think that we should talk to here?
No, well, one of the things I wanted to address is, as Amy just mentioned, is, the sign up lives within our club. This isn't necessarily like a large public event. Even though we'll talk about this public, your information, the discussion is still centered within our group and still only private to our members. So if you have questions, or if you want to ask me or Amy something, or you want to discuss details and the fact that you're going to be gone or whatever, I know privacy is always a bit of a concern within our club, and I do my best to uphold that. The conversation still lives there. So feel free to ask your questions in the club. It is still our same safe space that it always is. Other than that, I'd like to see a little bit more sign up on our side. I do think that, small and contained and a really great event is great. I do also know that the culture of our club tends to be that we have a lot of last minute signups or changes, that kind of thing. So my plea is, like, if you think you want to be a part of this, sign up, let us know so we can plan for it. And that's kind of the other reason for the earlier closure is we want to know who's coming. We want to make sure that we have an awesome time for everybody, because it is going to be really cool. And there's going to be a lot of media coming out of this event. My camera will be clicking. So many others will be. There'll be videos. There'll be, I noticed the bloopers reel on that, and I know I'm going to show up on it 100%. That's what I'm good for, friends. Don't ask me to build a picnic table if you want to actually sit on it safely at night. but it's going to be really cool. So I do hope that we get a couple more people now that we've offered some more clarity, some more of this, face-to-face conversation about it, and reach out if there are more questions. So far, I think we've covered everything.
I think so too. I'm gonna just real quick, the other kind of picture, and this gives a little bit more in that sense of scale that you were talking about. This is the second half of phase 1 and phase 2. So this back area that's between what we're calling the tree islands and then the forest, that's where we'll be with Carolina Camping Club for this private weekend. And one of the other potentials is setting the disc golf baskets for a disc golf course, which would then mean if we do that, first day, and a lot of people decide to stay, 2-3 nights, there's a possibility you could be playing disc golf before you leave as the very first people to play the course you just helped install. So,
oh, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, we'll have to get some incentives, some prizes for that if we make it happen. Club will help that happen.
Should be total fun. So I think that's kind of where we are in terms of a wrap up for the event itself. Can't wait to see folks there. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think it's going to be a really cool event. And again, I think the kind of tag for me is, Marissa and I have been planning this for a long time and talking about it, very excited about it. I don't know if there are other groups, church groups, camping groups that might be interested in doing something similar. I don't know if CCC might want to try and do a second event before we open. But this is kind of a standing invitation to reach out and talk to me if it's something your group might be interested in, because it's a cool idea. I've never heard of anyone else doing something like this in partnership.
No, I haven't either. And that's one of the reasons this makes it so exciting, other than obviously our awesomeness behind it. But I really do appreciate this opportunity, both personally and, kind of from that club perspective of getting our hands dirty and helping build magic. This is very exciting. I look forward to a very long standing relationship of working together. It'll be awesome.
It's going to be great. So again, I have to do the plug, accepting reservations. I suspect CCC is continuing to grow. If you're interested in camping, might want to check that out. And I think that's kind of wrap us up for today. As a reminder, this is a standing, I don't know if you call it a webinar or a video show, but every Tuesday at 2:00, we do this for Standing Pines Resort. We call it Building Memories Weekly. The prior episodes are available on YouTube and some are on our Facebook. We've got upcoming episodes with the pump tracks and the road names and some other stuff. But very excited. Marissa, I can't thank you enough for taking time to do this. Thank you. Can't wait to see you in May.
Thank you so much for having us on today. And for our club members still listening, yes, of course, there's going to be a 2025 event there. Amy and I are just still selecting which most magical weekend makes the most sense. So I'll be announcing that in short order. Thanks for listening, everybody. Can't wait to be together.
Bye.